Okay, so here I am again in the aviary delivering materials. They're gonna need to put me on the payroll, it looks like. They have used all the material that's on the ground. The nest is phenomenal. So I'm gonna show you guys the nest, show you the materials that I've gathered, and see what you think is going to happen next. So you can see the ground is full of the materials that were here before we gathered last. And it looks like they did not like the yucca leaves that I gathered. You can see them right there under the pine. They're not too keen on the pine anymore. Their grass is still here. Feathers are still here. But let me show y'all what they've used. They've used most all of the privet and the oak that we put in here. It's just getting taller and taller and taller. So I have gathered more of the of those things, the privet and the oak, and I've added a little sage grass to see if they may find that enticing. You see they've still got the indention going in the top, and it just seems like as they've added on, they've made that indention where the egg will go a little bit more defined. Just simply amazing. So this is the huge pile of what I've gathered this morning. I've told you that I had some sedge grass, and that's what this is. I've put this in here before, and I think it just kind of dried up and dwindled away. I've got a lot of different sizes of oak. I've got small ones, I've got big ones, because they don't seem to discriminate. They use all of what I put in here. I got a couple of pieces of cedar, and then a lot of privet. So I think I'm gonna just gather this about and sit back and see if they start building today again, because it's an everyday occurrence. Yesterday, just about all day, she sat on the nest, and he would bring her things, but it wasn't as rapid as it was in the beginning. It was more like she was sitting, trying to get comfortable, I hope that's a sign of an egg coming soon. But there again, they fooled me before, so this may just be another Ripley's Believe It or Not. While I'm in here, they're already starting to pick through the stuff. And this is amazing because it's never happened while I've been in here. I don't think he's gonna in turn take it to the nest, but he's checking it out, and she is too. She's the one on the right. She has a pink band. He's on the left. He has a silver band. Look at this. Maybe this means, I don't know what it means. They're impressed with the material. I saw some of you guys that were saying, if you'll stop putting material in there, they'll stop building. Well, in our experience, I don't believe that's the case, because in the wild, birds have unlimited materials, and all these birds have is what is in this area. So if their materials are depleted, in nature it wouldn't be depleted. So how could I in turn stop gathering? Because in nature it would not stop. The materials would be infinite. Gosh, I hope this doesn't mean we're starting a new nest build. You see her wing kind of flapping out? That's just a sign of being cautious. But they're not bothered by me at all. I mean, I come in here every single day and clean their water and take care of their food needs. So it's not like they're not used to me being in here. It's just that they've never showed any nest activity while I'm in here. It's almost like they're playing with it. Very interesting. So I'm going to step out and I'm going to go inside and see if I can't see what they're doing on the live camera versus me sitting in here with them. Okay, so I guess their evidence is there. They're still building the nest. I don't know when it's going to stop, but I will continue to provide materials for the nest build until they get a 10-story complex built. No, literally, I don't know when it's going to end. I keep thinking any day now that she's going to lay an egg. I have heard some mating activity, kind of like what I recorded last time from the chicken coop area, where they're in the aviary, which is in the same area. I've heard the da-doom, 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 and then the sound that I put on the last video that I'd never heard before. So they're definitely still in the mood, so to speak. I do think an egg is coming. However, I don't know when. I don't know what they could possibly be waiting on. They know best. So I guess we'll just keep it on until the time comes that we see that little white egg in the midst of that big gigantic nest. And I can guarantee you guys, when that happens, the day that it happens, there will be a video. I'm not going to hold out on you. It's not going to be any kind of wait and see. Next Thursday, it's going to be immediate. As soon as that egg is laid, I'll let you guys know, because if you're anything like I am, you're just on pins and needles waiting for these beautiful birds to lay the egg. Now I have some very sad news to report. We try to keep things positive here, but obviously it's a farm. Things happen. I feel it's necessary to share this with you guys because she was a very special part of Marycarl's life, and you guys will be wondering, why are we not seeing Melly on any of the videos? So here's what happened. Marycarl had raised Melly, which was the little pigeon that you guys show that she had recall trained to come back to her. I showed it in one of the Victorian Crown Pigeon videos, and she had done a phenomenal job training her. Lots of time, lots of hours, lots of bonding took place between those two, and this day was like any other day. Marycarl would take Millie out first thing. That was the way that she fed her, was by taking her out and doing her training, and she would in turn come back, fly back for food, which was her reward for her doing her flight training. So this particular morning, while it was like every other morning, there was a little bit of difference. The time. This morning that it happened, there was rain that was coming in. And so Marycarl usually takes care of her inside birds and lets the Melly training be the last thing that she does. So this particular morning, rain on the radar, she decided that she would take Melly out a little bit early. Okay, no problem. So she starts out right here where I'm standing. And this is the little fence that goes to what I call the party garden. I can't even remember the term for it, so you'll know what I'm talking about, the party garden area right here on the side of our house. So she puts Melly on the fence like always, and Marycarl takes off towards the fruit orchard. Melly flies like always. Melly does a big circle over the fruit orchard. She's kind of low to the ground, but it's just a typical morning. Not a big fly, just a little lap around the property, the immediate area. And in the bottom of the fruit orchard, denounced Marycarl's knowing, there was a hawk. And the hawk was on the ground, so it was camouflaged. Marycarl said it happened so fast that she couldn't, she never saw the hawk there. Obviously, she would have never let Melly fly. We have never lost a bird here at this new farm due to a hawk. We know they're here. We are aware they're here. We know it could happen at any time, but it's just not something that was high on her radar for Melly to get taken by a hawk, because normally they come from the sky. So had she seen any hawk activity, she would not have flown the bird for sure. With the hawk being on the ground, we think, looking back, that the hawk probably had some small type of prey, whether it be a mouse or a little songbird, something. But Melly just literally flew right over the top of where the hawk was, and the hawk had I mean, it was no action really even that was taken for the hawk to grab Melly out of midair and in turn take her away. I'm sorry. It was a terrible day. It was a memory for my daughter that I don't wish on anybody. She loved that little bird. That little bird loved her. It's so hard to explain to a child why something like that would happen, because I don't know. Nature can be cruel. Immediately after it happened, Jason and I were inside of the house, and she alerted both of us that she needed help and that Melly was gone. Our immediate thoughts were that Melly had flown up into one of the taller trees on the edge of the property. Upon coming out and listening to Marycarl tell the story, we quickly realized that that wasn't the case, and that the hawk had literally taken Melly from right here, almost where we're standing, into the woods. And rain was on the way, but that didn't stop us, because Marycarl had a good feeling that Melly was no longer alive. But most of the time, in our experience, when we have seen birds be attacked by hawks, if it's a smaller type hawk, such as a Cooper's hawk, they don't consume their prey. They take a piece of it and then they drop it. And so Marycarl had a good feeling that Melly wasn't alive, but she also had a good feeling that there was a possibility that we could recover her body. And so we searched and we searched and we searched through the woods. I was able to find one feather, but there was no indication of where the hawk had taken Melly, her pigeon. Rain was coming in, so we did stop searching, because we felt deep within us that the pigeon was so light that it may have been a different situation from what we had experienced in the past at our old farm with hawks, which was they would leave their prey. But chickens are a lot heavier than a pigeon, and we convinced ourselves that the hawk probably took Melly wherever his nesting area was, or her nesting area was. We never recovered her. That was very hard for a couple of days for me, Carl, because deep within she wanted to come out that morning and see Melly sitting right where Tucker is, which was her home base. That was how she trained her. This was home base. And so she came out every morning over those next couple of days, and she looked, and Melly wasn't there. And Melly's never going to be there. There have been several times since then that Marycarl has had emotional episodes, which is to be expected, and she says she just misses her, which who wouldn't? She was a special little bird. I have convinced Marycarl to not give up, and she has a baby that she's working with now. I felt the best way to put things behind you is to remember the good things. And that's what I've encouraged her to do, is to not give up and to thrive on what she does well. She's excellent at bird training from all aspects, and I don't want her to give up, and she hasn't. And while we don't know what the reason was that Melly was taken that day, I do know that with her training with this bird, she says that this bird is a lot faster learner than Melly was. And that makes me so happy to see that she's learned from the situation. It's hard, but that doesn't mean you give up. And to end this story, I want to tell you guys that Marycarl's pigeon loft over there, it's never had a name. She's thought for weeks and weeks since we built that purple pigeon palace. She wanted the aviary to have a name. And that aviary has a name. The loft has a name. Even though the Victorian crown pigeons live in the aviary part of the loft, most people give their loft a name. Marycarl named it Melrose Loft, and I think that is so special. Melrose was Melly's full name. Marycarl loves to draw, so she designed an image that she wanted to use for her loft. She didn't necessarily want to make it into a t-shirt, but I thought it was only fitting that we offer these shirts in memory of Melly from Marycarl's drawing. So if you see it fit and it's something that interests you, check them out. It is drawn by Marycarl, and it is in memory of Melly, and it's an image of Melrose Loft. So I didn't tell this story for you guys to get upset. It's human nature for us to get upset when something happens that it's not happy news. But I told this story to tell you to simply not give up. Tragedy struck, and yes, it was hard. But look where she is now. You don't give up. You keep fighting. And if a 13-year-old can do it, then you can too. So if you have it in you, keep fighting. Don't give up. And I hope you enjoyed the information on what's going on with the Victoria Crown pigeons. I guarantee they're in their building right now. And I hope to report sooner than later that there's an egg. And when that happens, you're going to know about it too. So thank you, and don't give up.